We also want to show how many children were in foster care in the custody of DFCS on the last day of the month. This gives you information on what our daily census is. So that's why across the top there you see a slightly lower number for March. It's 8,385. So this is saying on March 30th, is it 31st in the month? March 30th, yeah. There were 8,385 children in the legal custody of DFCS on that day. However, 8,862 were in care at any time during March.
Question, Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
On that last slide,
This one.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
What the call-in intake, when did that begin? And I know that it, I think you know where I'm going. Maybe you're shaking your head there, but when did it begin?
It started September. September of 2013, we pulled on Fulton, DeKalb, and our Region 8, which is the Muskogee County, Columbus, Georgia area. They came on in September 2013. Then each month we started to add more regions. Then we paused like November, December, January, and started back around February. And so, yes, it was probably right around February that we resumed bringing more on. So, but it would have been September.
Yeah, I know my county came in February. And I was just curious, do you think that as you move forward and are able to staff that in-call more and bring down the response time even more, that might result in less kids coming into care?
You know, I am not sure that it's going to matter in terms of the less coming into care. What I've reached out to some of our county directors, regional directors, asking questions about this increase. And what they've been said is in particular increase in the number of investigations, that as they look at it, it definitely looks like these are cases that we should be investigating. Now, we do know, and I'll talk about it a bit when we get to our 4E waiver issue, is that we had close to 1,800 children who came into care and stayed for 90 days or less. And many of them would be, kids who may be part of a CHANS situation now. So we do have those short stayers that were coming in and leaving quickly. But that's going to remain to be seen, that as we fully staff, whether or not it does impact this.
Yeah, it might be something you might want to, is it Mr. Reed?
Yes, Stephen Reed, yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Might want to make a note of
yes.
that. I don't know how you'll be able to measure that. I know that locally we are, that we noticed that my shelter care orders from the court have gone up, trying to get police back out on the streets. But the problem is, what you may not know is that, of course, we're not going to issue a shelter care order unless we do believe there's probable cause, and we do believe that the allegations meet dependency and there's imminent risk. So it could have been a good call anyway, So that's going to be the critical question.
Right. And the thing about children coming into care from an investigation is that we have not had sufficient time to look for relatives. So when children are going to be leaving quickly, it may be that we've had to bring them into care right away until we find a relative or get more information about the situation. Family preservation cases, we've established a relationship with the family. We know a bit more. Investigations, right, we tend to not have much information at that time.
On that note, I want to give kudos to your department, because you're right. I mean, our intake is required to ask the police officer upon the call to ask the family and the child as to relatives in the area. But your department does a much better job than that.
Oh, okay, great. We probably need a microphone for people when they say they're going to give kudos. I want to make sure that gets heard loud and clear on this. But thank you, Judge Teskey.
I don't have enough bow ties here.
When you rolled out the call centers in these counties, did you roll it out with any kind of marketing or media plan as well to schools and coaches and things like that?
And definitely with some of the school system, with the marketing campaign that began this year, is that the call center director and others had a meeting, and the regional directors, I believe you all, and the county directors, meeting with some of the law enforcement, some of the school social workers who say we're moving to this. And what I found, though, is that there's still a lot more training to be done around this. I had a couple of conversations with some police chiefs, and I'm meeting with them for their meeting in July to go back through and talk more about the rationale behind this and what we did. But we did do it to some extent in terms of saying to the community, this is what we're moving to and why. But I think that was something that a lesson learned. It needed to be on a larger scale than what we did.
I also would anticipate that because
Mm-hmm.
of the ease and the centralized way to
Mm-hmm.
find you guys, and also because I think that there's more anonymity in a
Yes.
centralized call center,
Mhm.
the numbers would actually continue to go up
Mhm.
for a while
Mhm.
as this number becomes more readily known to
Yes.
in the community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it will, and I think you're right, and that's certainly what we're seeing because of that. You know, it's much easier to make a report. You can make it 24/7, and here's the numbers. So I think we are going to continue to see. It may be in the fall before we know where the plateau is and how we can project about what the numbers are going to actually look like.
There's a lot of staffing implications.
Right. So as you can see with this, again, the red bar represents the number of kids coming into care. So over the past year, we've certainly had more children enter care than leave care. And look at the difference between March of 2013, that bar, and March at the end of 2014, and that huge increase. Something different that occurred this year that may be partly, again, centralized intake plus the high-profile child deaths is that in the past years, in November, December particularly, we saw much higher rates of children leaving care. And we studied this phenomenon some years back because we would see lots of kids leaving in November, December, then January, February, we would have this high rate. And so a question that was asked at one of our meetings was, how many of the children who went home in November, December came back into care January, February, March? And we found it was something like 40%. It was a fairly high number. So then we started to talk with our staff about, in November, December, almost this kind of compassionate kind of discharge, and then also on the end of the families, because there are times when I remember from my days as a foster care worker, there were families, parents who, their extended family had no idea that their children were in foster care, particularly if it had been a short time frame. So holiday time is coming. They know for Thanksgiving, I must have my children with me because my brothers and sisters have no idea my kids are in foster care. And so we would see kind of probably an upward trend in terms of families who are being compliant. So September, October, they're doing what they need to do because I know I need to have my children home. And so it was the same thing, I think, with our case managers, that there was probably some compassion on their part because I thought this is kind of a compassionate discharge here because children want to be home with their families, particularly those who have been in care for a short period of time. They want to be at home for Thanksgiving. They want to be home for the holidays. So we still saw more kids going home than coming into care, but this is the first year that those months really did not matter to the pattern. And I think, again, it could be some centralized intake plus the child deaths, and those were the two that were quite sensational in the media. Quite a bit occurred in October. So we were still talking about those. But February, March has tended to always be one of our highest months for the number of kids coming into care. And I think we will start to study that a bit more, talk to some of the school social workers and others, and they talked about March starts this real stressful time in terms of testing and all of that. Anxieties are really high. So I think going forward, this is something we can certainly partner more with the school system around some of the trends that we see.